Hi, and welcome to another show, Florida's Great Northwest. I'm your host, Larry Sassano, and my special guest today is Beth Kirkland. And Beth, welcome, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you, Larry.
You had a little drive to get here, and I appreciate that. Beth serves as a consultant with the Gadsden County Economic Development Council, and she also has a great certification, which I'd like her to elaborate on. She's a CED, and tell our audience what that credentials really mean in the economic development field.
Certainly. The Certified Economic Development Credential is awarded by the International Economic Development Council.
Right.
So that is a training and professional development organization that I'm a member of. Many of us in Northwest Florida are members of IEDC.
Right.
And you go through 6 courses. 4 of them are core courses and 2 of them are elected. It is quite an investment, and I was fortunate that the organizations I have worked with invested in me as a professional along the way and allowed me to take those courses over a period of about 3 or 4 years, and then you sit for an exam. You have a written exam, you have an oral exam. It is quite competitive, and then year after year you're held to standards, and you get recertified on a 3-year basis. So I'm actually up for recertification in 2015, looking forward to it, and it'll be my 2nd recertification. So I've held the credential since 2009.
That's great. Yeah, there are quite a few in Northwest Florida that have received that certification. That's quite a honor to have so many CEDs in our region.
It really is, and the Florida Economic Development Council is our professional association at the state level.
Right.
So there, and we have 60 CECDs throughout the state of Florida.
Yes, you also served as the chair for the FEDC, did you know?
I did. I had it was a privilege to serve. It was a great year several years ago, and then this year I have remained on the board and am serving as the vice chair of membership.
Excellent. It's a great organization. I think I've been a member of it since, I hate to say this, but 1981. It's a long time. Well, let's get into what you're doing with Gadsden County, and I think you've done a marvelous job in working with the people there, the public sector, the private sector, and I've been at one of your meetings, and I've actually met several times now a lot of your members at different events, and you've got them to really participate and understand what economic development is all about.
We have a tremendous group of members in the Gadsden County Development Council. This council has been around for many, many years, but they recently rejuvenated through a resolution. The 6 city managers, there's 6 municipalities in Gadsden County, wrote a resolution in partnership with the county to work together in economic development, and then there was a funding element that came to that. All of the municipalities invest, as does the county, and that created a budget for the Development Council, and then I had an opportunity to contract with them in the fall of 2013. Yeah. So, what really attracted me to this opportunity is that resoluteness towards economic development and their dedication and commitment to the process.
And let's see, so you're going on 2 years?
1.
1 year.
1 year,
okay.
yeah. So,
wow.
Yes.
That's right. So let's start 1 year. So you've done a lot, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I wanted to maybe have you elaborate on what your role is in working with the municipalities and the different groups there too.
Certainly.
Okay.
The proposal that I put forward and that we kind of all adopted together was to focus on 3 different building blocks. Facilitated growth, where we can leverage the partnerships like ours with Florida's Great Northwest, our inventory of assets, market-driven growth, which again, Florida's Great Northwest focuses on quite a bit on behalf of the entire 16-county region to help develop that positive business climate such that those companies that are looking at our region will be naturally attracted to what we have to offer. And then competitive projects, which we all work and prepare for every day.
Right. We're going to get into the projects too. In fact, there's one project in particular that has become somewhat activated, and you've done a very a fine job of working with the client and encouraging them to come and visit us. And I always say, Beth, if we could get a company that's interested in evaluating any of our counties in Northwest Florida, that's half the battle of getting them to make a commitment to actually seriously locating a facility in our area. So if you can get that prospect, and if I can help you get that prospect to come to visit Gadsden County, I think we got a good shot at getting them to perhaps locate there. And so I appreciate, and like I said, it's a partnership. You need our help, we need your help. So working together, that's the way these projects work. But I'd like to use that as an example to allow you to tell us how you work a typical project, because we talk about economic development, and it's been thrown around the last several years, but people really understand what economic development is, what we really do, and how a project comes about. Where do you get your leads, for example, in Gadsden County, that you can follow up on?
That was one of the first things that I shared with the Development Council and that we really began to work on, and that is getting involved in the Florida Economic Development Network.
Yeah.
You have to be at the table in order to facilitate the process and be a part of the lead generation and create some of your own lead generation. Right. And so I've been very impressed with the board of directors and the leadership and the stakeholders in Gadsden County. They've all kind of stepped out of their comfort zone and joined various organizations within our network. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have Dot Emmon Johnson, who is the city manager in Midway, and she's serving on the board at Florida's Great Northwest. Right. And then Antonio Jefferson is our city manager in Gretna, and he's serving on the Opportunity Florida board. I have the privilege of representing Gadsden County with the Stakeholders Council in Enterprise Florida, and also with Career Source Capital Region, which is our workforce partner. Right. But our chairman, Lee Garner, is very involved and a leader in municipal utilities, as well as a regional ecotourism group, the Riverway South organization. And then he also chairs our Tourist Development Council. So all of our partners around the county and our stakeholders are willing to work outside of the boundaries of the county to leverage the partnerships that occur throughout the Florida Economic Development Network.
Yes, and we've got roughly 12 rural counties in Florida's Great Northwest, 4 urban counties. Gadsden's a rural county located next to an urban county, Leon County. Why is it important to market the rural counties, and how you've marketed both? What's different about marketing a rural county as opposed to an urban county?
Rural counties, and especially in the case of Gadsden, we have the unique position of being a suburb, if you will, not only of an urban county, but of a capital city. Yeah. And so that in and of itself allows us to leverage a lot of the higher education assets that come with being in a capital city, we're very fortunate too, because our community college, Tallahassee Community College, has made a concerted effort to have capital investment and infrastructure in all 3 counties that they serve. And so we're the home to the Florida Public Safety Institute, which is a training institute of Tallahassee Community College, and really serves as a homeland defense training institute, highly regarded nationally, serving agencies from the federal to the state to the the law enforcement as well. And so being next to an urban capital city has really positioned us well, but yet we're also part of the rural area of opportunity. Right. The Florida legislature has designated specific incentives for the 3 rural areas of opportunity in Florida. And that's another area where I'm so proud of all of our stakeholders, because they're getting out there, they're participating in opportunities like the Rural Boot Camp that was recently held by Enterprise Florida. We'll be a part of the Rural Summit that's coming up. And these are all ways for us to strengthen ourselves and be better prepared for the prospects that you were talking about.
Right.
Everybody kind of needs to be on the same page, understand the approach, be able to talk about our competitive assets, and really help that prospect understand why Gadsden County is a good solution for their company.
Well, now, have you targeted that security aspect as far as a sector for Gadsden County because of the fact that you've got that presence there?
You know, we have, and again, kind of going along that line of thinking of being a rural suburb to a capital city, our main employment is public sector. Not only with additional state employment, but all state agencies and things, but also having 6 municipalities, you can see where the public sector employment opportunities are the majority. So we have a goal of diversifying into other sectors, one of which is Homeland Defense. Other sectors that we're looking at include manufacturing. We have a really good base in manufacturing, electronics manufacturing, construction materials, forestry, some mining of earth minerals. So we have a pretty good base, but those are some great areas that we can diversify into and leverage, a lot of the marketing efforts and things of Florida's Great Northwest to help us attract in manufacturing, agribusiness. We talked a little bit about the tourism industry. Ecotourism is also a targeted sector for us. But it's our infrastructure in Gadsden County that I think is really one of the strongest selling points.
In that rural boot camp, one of the speakers talked about, because his focus was on the rural counties in Northwest Florida, he talked about the ecotourism a little bit, manufacturing, distribution, as important pockets to target for rural counties. But what I've found in all 16 counties in Northwest Florida, that you can market those same sectors for all 16 counties. But it's nice to know that they fit well with rural and urban counties. So I think that manufacturing was something that I don't know if the rest of the state targets it the way we do, but it makes sense that we all target it, I think, as well. And there's a company that wanted it, it's not a manufacturer, but that you recently had the grand opening for, Safe Light Auto Glass. You want to talk about that? And that's nice to have a success story there in your backyard.
It really is, Larry, and Safe Light is an example of a regional success. They actually had a presence in Leon County, but their landlord knew of their desire to expand. And in his earnest attempt to retain them also as one of his clients, as a tenant, he was able to offer product that he had available in Gadsden County. And it's a win-win because there were 2 companies sharing the Leon space. Safe Light had an opportunity to grow into space in Gadsden County, and then the other tenant in Leon had an opportunity to expand and take over the entire space there.
Excellent,
So really a win-win and a regional success story. But Safe Light was able to then increase their inventory, their warehousing inventory, by 40%. Not necessarily growing their footprint, but in the height of the building. And that is something that we're seeing quite a bit in our product inventory in Gadsden County, and I think probably you would say is the norm across Northwest Florida. Some of our legacy product, the building height is what the limitation is. And some of these manufacturers and warehousing and distribution companies that we are well suited for require eave heights anywhere from 24 to 35 feet. And that such was the case with Safelite, and then that allowed them to put in their proprietary racking systems that they use for the auto glass, and then do a combination warehousing distribution with their retail product, where they actually train the technicians and go out and install the auto glass. So
was that building available?
it was an available building, and they were able to then do over $250,000 of tenant improvements to their specifications, and it had enough space for them to include a much needed training facility instead of a classroom, because they have a proprietary training program for their technicians. And they were able to hire several individuals from Gadsden County that are now in that training program. And what's great about it is the company makes a commitment with over $6,000 per trainee in specialized training, and the trainee makes a 3-year commitment to the company.
Right. Excellent.
And so it's a partnership.
You know, it was fortunate you had that building there.
Yes.
Because we always say that probably if you have an existing building, even if it doesn't fit perfectly for a potential client, that having that building there could be the determination if they're even going to look at you. If you don't have a building, they may just pass you by, even though you may have some of the other assets that they are looking for. So that's nice that you had a building that's most suitable for them.
It is. You know, it was a building in one of 5 different industrial parks. And we're in the process right now of documenting those industrial parks so that we can build, either build them into an existing web presence or build a specific web presence, because as you know, the prospects are going to do a lot of their hunting and choosing from the web these days, and what we're able to put out there make readily available. And so that's something that we need to do, is make sure we do a good job of documenting those parks.
Absolutely, Beth. You know, it's interesting that the more consultants that you and I talk to around the country, the more we find out that before they even contact Florida's Great Northwest, or if they contact you, they've already evaluated and researched our area. They know quite a bit about our area before they even pick up a phone or emails, however they contact us. So we've got to have that data current and available to them so that they can know that they're looking at a product that's available for them and may suit their needs, which would initiate them making a phone call to us. So what you're doing, I think, in having that infrastructure in place, current, and the data associated with it, critical to this process. So I commend you for doing that. Let's talk about the product itself. You've got good product there, and it's amazing for Gadsden County. What's your population in Gadsden County?
Just shy of 47,000.
Yeah, you got a lot of product for a county of 47,000 people. What do you feel are your best assets right now in marketing Gadsden?
Our infrastructure is probably our most attractive asset. It's extremely robust. Being right there along the I-10 corridor, there are 4 interstate interchanges, and 3 of the 4 have utilities, all electric, water, wastewater utilities. So that's, as you know, important to have that available and readily available.
Yeah.
But in addition to the interstate, we've got 2 major highways with US 90 and US 27. We have 2 short line railroads, the Apalachicola Northern, which is operated by Genesee and Wyoming, and a CSX short line that goes north between Tallahassee and Bainbridge.
Yeah.
But most importantly is that CSX main line that runs directly through Gadsden County. About 4-5 years ago, we had an opportunity to work with the railroad, and one of their consultants, McCallum Sweeney, is somebody that we all work with and throughout the region. We're working with them now. and they were looking for, at that time, mega site identification.
Right.
And so there were 4 sites that were identified in Gadsden County. The economy changed a bit since then, and we're going through a recovery now. And so we've taken that and leveraged it into a broader evaluation of how can we position ourselves for industrial site development to leverage all of that infrastructure. So we've done quite a bit of research on our own in partnership with Preble Risch, which is an engineering firm in Gadsden County, and our planning and development department at the county. But we, again, engaging the railroads to get their input. Gray Swope, our Secretary of Commerce, he encouraged our investor-owned utilities to really step up and partner and provide different resources. And I think each of them have done a tremendous job in doing that. And of course, Gulf Power here in our region has worked on site certification, and as an impetus to that. And Gadsden did not get involved in that early enough, but we have an opportunity now to really learn from the example that has been set. And we're leveraging a Duke Energy program, which is a select site evaluation program.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so they've taken an initial look through their process, and there seems to be some good overlap with the research we've done locally and what their resource could bring to the table. So we may have a nice little effort ahead of us.
You have, you showed me a map and gave me a copy of it, of your industrial sites there. I can't recall, the railroad goes through how many of those properties?
Well, there was rail in, I want to say, at least half of the properties that we've pointed out when you look at the 2 short lines and the main line.
Yeah, we're finding that rail's becoming even more valuable to more of our clients, particularly in the distribution area. And because we're working with a project right now where rail is a major factor. So it's nice that you've got those short lines there. And we're seeing great cooperation with CSX and others as well. But it's nice to know that Duke is also stepping forward and working with you. That's great. And going back to Gulf Power, I think yesterday we learned that I think they have 8 certified sites that are moving forward.
Good.
Now that's going to give Florida, I think, a total of 9 certified sites, 8 of them in Northwest Florida. That's something that Florida's Great Northwest will really market, and along with Gulf Power and the communities there. So I think that's a tremendous achievement for the power companies to do that. Maybe Duke will look at doing something like that too. Maybe you can encourage them to do that there.
Well, we're just glad that we can leverage those resources that are, that Enterprise Florida and Secretary Swope have really encouraged that be developed here in Florida. And those are the types of things in the Economic Development Network that you don't want to leave on the table.
No.
You want to make sure you take advantage of them.
No, and we've got just a few minutes left, Beth, and I want to just cover, we didn't cover everything I wanted to cover, and but I want to talk to you about the help that the other state agencies have done now, but maybe focus first on how is Florida's Great Northwest helping you to be successful in marketing, promoting the sustainability in Gadsden County there?
Larry, it's important for us to maintain and strengthen the relationships that we have with the site consultants. And having worked in the industry for many years, as you have, we've been able to develop some strong relationships with good consulting firms and individuals who they're the ones who are working with the companies that are going to be making these decisions to expand into new markets. And Florida's Great Northwest is our partner in that effort. So it's through this partnership that we're able to engage those consultants, stay in front of them, and as we do what we need to do, which is develop our product, define our product. We're able to get that content and information to you, and so that it reaches the decision makers and those that are working with the companies, and that is extremely valuable.
Well, I think on behalf of Florida's Great Northwest, I'd like to thank you for the effort you put forth. And I know that wherever you are, you're going to give it 100% and more. And that's what makes it a good partnership too. So, it's not, we try to do our part, but having a partner that does their part helps to make successes happen, So I appreciate what you're doing there. We're about out of time, but is there any last minute thoughts you want to talk about in terms of Gadsden County and your efforts in helping them to grow and diversify?
I just wanted to reiterate the hardworking and passionate stakeholders that we have throughout the county. In addition to our countywide efforts, each of the 6 municipalities is really honed in on what can they do at that level to strengthen that population center, that cluster of businesses that is within each of the population centers. And so I'm enjoying working with the existing businesses and helping them understand what we might be able to do collectively at the county level to bring additional opportunities for those businesses, but again, help those municipalities partner more closely with the businesses that they have, because we know a lot of growth occurs too through the expansion of our existing companies.
Absolutely. Beth Kirkland, Gadsden County Development Council Consultant and CED, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show today. We had a good time, and thanks for tuning in.